YouTube star turned pro boxer Jake Paul has been stirring up a fuss lately about the wages fighters receive in the UFC and has been getting under the skin of UFC President Dana White. And this ongoing war of words between Paul and White has shown no signs of slowing down. So stay tuned and don't go away, because we're looking at why Jake Paul is telling Dana White to pay UFC champion Francis Ngannou what he wants. First up, should the UFC pay the world's hardest puncher what he wants? Let's take a look. French Cameroonian MMA fighter Francis Xavier Ngannou is the reigning UFC heavyweight champion. He is known for being the hardest recorded puncher in the world, and many around the world know him as an exceptional knockout artist. Daniel Cormier, MMA fighter turned UFC commentator, believes that Ngannou and Tyson Fury are the most dangerous knockout artists in the history of combat sports. Jake Paul, who in addition to fighting himself, has recently entered the fight promotion business, is telling Dana White to pay UFC champion Francis Ngannou what he wants. This comes in response to reports that contract negotiations between Ngannou and White have broken down. Paul is presently working on something in the world of MMA and has repeatedly told UFC President White that he must improve fighter pay in the UFC. So it seems as though Paul has gone from YouTube star to pro fighter to promoter to labor rights activist. Paul is demanding that Dana White pay Ngannou what he wants because the heavyweight champion isn't happy with his current contract. Ngannou's earning around $500,000 for his world title fight with unbeaten interim champ Cyril God, and while that may seem like boatloads of cash, it's actually a fraction of what Paul earned for most of his boxing bouts as a beginner. Next up, how much did Jake Paul actually earn in some of his fights? Let's have a look. Jake Paul's last disclosed fight purse was for his first bout with Tyron Woodley. For the 8-round bout, Paul was paid $2 million. Paul's now a staunch advocate for fighter pay and told White he would retire from combat sports if the UFC agrees to increase its fight purses with a more equitable revenue split plus healthcare for its fighters. And when you consider the savagery that fighters endure when they step into the octagon, Paul's demands seem justified. What seems a little unclear, though, is why Paul's retirement from combat sports would entice White to meet those demands. In any event, Paul continues his wage-related activism against White and enjoys calling him out for his poor treatment of fighters. Now, Paul's latest cause is fighting for world heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou. Paul took to Twitter and slammed White with an angry tweet and told the UFC tycoon, "Give this man what he wants, Dana." McKee's now the renowned trainer at the Team Body Shop Club in California. It's the same club where Paul's sparring partner Anthony Taylor trained at. In a recent interview, McKee explained that he and Paul are working on a project that will surely benefit fighters. Up next, what does McKee have to say about his experiences with the UFC? Let's find out. When McKee discussed his time with the UFC, he didn't hold back any punches and said, "Unfortunately, I was treated really badly by the UFC after being undefeated for like 8 years. I was on an 8-year run where I was treated real bad, but I was very fortunate and blessed to meet a guy like Jake Paul. He's saying and doing a lot of things that at first I thought was for the clout, but then I realized it was actually because he's about the fighter. There's something really big about to pop. I'm not going to say too much because I'm not supposed to, but you're going to hear something big in the next week, and Jake Paul is one of the people who made it happen." Paul was praised by Ngannou for his performance against Woodley after their December rematch, which saw Paul knock out the former UFC welterweight champion in the 6th round. Ngannou said, "Paul put his money where his mouth is after he landed a nasty right hand, knocked Woodley out, and clinched his 4th career knockout." After Paul's win over Woodley, Ngannou said, "Honestly, I was impressed by Jake Paul. I didn't see that coming. I was sure that Tyron Woodley was going to win this fight, but you've got to give it to Jake Paul. He made a statement, a huge statement, and he proved his money is where his mouth is. He's taking himself very seriously. You better take him seriously because he proved it." Stay tuned and don't go away because we're bringing you the latest UFC info. Be sure to watch until the end because we're going to show you what happens when a UFC star teams up with a star from the Jackass franchise. We'll give you a hint. It's painful, but oh so funny. Next up, what does the UFC's interim heavyweight champion think about the controversy surrounding fighter purses? Let's dig a little deeper. France is known for many great things: the Eiffel Tower, art, fine wines and cheeses, and of course high-end fashion. So it's not every day that the country known for its sophistication produces one of the toughest fighters in the world. We're talking about Cyril God, the undefeated interim heavyweight champion of the UFC. On Saturday, January 22nd, God is set to square off against Francis Ngannou at UFC 270 in what is considered to be one of the most highly anticipated fights of the year. This is going to be an absolutely incredible fight and a difficult battle for both fighters. There's no telling how this fight will go, and frankly, it's a coin toss. As far as fighter pay goes, though, Gon is content with his pay for the time being. When Gon was asked for his opinion on the Ngannou versus White dispute, he had this to say: "I can understand. He wants that. He wants more. Everyone wants more. Me too. It's only human. For me, I'm really satisfied. I'm really happy with my contract. If Gon beats Ngannou, that will make him eligible for a higher pay as well, and this is something that Gon is keenly aware of." Up next, what does Gon think of Jake Paul's relentless attacks on the the UFC? Let's find out. In a recent interview, God was asked if he'll be asking for a new contract if he becomes the undisputed UFC heavyweight champion, and explained, "This is the worst job. It's not my job. This is the job of my manager. So I don't know exactly, but today, trust me, I'm really happy. I'm really happy with my contract and my career." When God was asked about what he thought of Jake Paul's attempts at fighting for better pay, he had this to say, "I'm not sure about that. I don't know exactly what he wants. I think he just wants to blame the UFC, blame Dana White for making his business. He's trash-talking Dana and Conor McGregor. He just wants to do that for that." So it's clear from God's remarks that he's not in Paul's corner and feels that Paul's attacks on the UFC and White in particular are more or less self-serving than anything else. One could argue that Paul is only attacking White to drum up publicity for his own upcoming project. Whatever Paul's motivations, though, it doesn't change the fact that things such as fighter pay and healthcare are vitally important issues. These are issues that ought to be discussed at the very least, and if need be, addressed. Finally, let's talk about the latest Jackass movie, Jackass Forever. Heavyweight champ Francis Ngannou will be in the next Jackass movie with a cameo appearance. According to Dana White, Francis is the guy who has the world record for the most powerful punch. His punches are equivalent to 96 horsepower. That's equal to getting hit by a Ford Escort going as fast as it can, and it's more powerful than a 12-pound sledgehammer from full force overhead. Holy blank. In Jackass Forever, Ngannou will be punching Aaron McGahee, aka Danger Aaron, in the private parts. Jackass Forever is slated for release in February and is going to be the most insane installment of the franchise yet. In the Ngannou segment, Johnny Knoxville tells the gullible Aaron that he is bringing in a lightweight to perform the stunt. However, it's Ngannou that shows up. The official trailer for Jackass Forever smash cuts just before Ngannou's fist makes contact with Aaron's private bits, but we can guess that the aftermath wasn't pretty. When Ngannou was asked of what it was like working with the cast and crew of Jackass, he had this to say, "Man, I had to punch somebody in the nuts. I did it the first time, and they're like, 'Listen, man, we know you. People know that you're the hardest puncher in the world. It wasn't hard enough.' And I was like, 'Are you kidding me? Like, I'm nervous. I don't know. I could hurt this guy. Did he at least have kids or something already?" And that's a wrap for today's video, fight fans. Thanks for watching until the end. Hit like and subscribe.